Okay, so today what I want to look at is the Phillips curve. And I want to show you essentially how the Phillips curve works along with the aggregate model. And remember, the Phillips curve is essentially looking at unemployment and how it relates, of course, to inflation. So let's go over here and let's take a look at number one. Let's start off with an aggregate model where we have an aggregate demand, aggregate supply, and then of course right in here we will have our output level, okay, which is right there. And in this output level, we'll go ahead and call that price level 1 and Y1. Let's go ahead and label our outside here as real GDP and price level. All right, let's go ahead and look at this particular economy before all of this happened. Remember, we were in somewhat of an inflationary gap because we found ourselves employing more people than at our full employment line. So we were definitely above the full employment line, doing well as an economy at this point. All right, and let's kind of look at that now over here on the Phillips curve, what that looked like. And on the Phillips curve, you have, of course, the short run Phillips curve, which will be a lot like our demand curve in a lot of ways. Okay, and here's our long run aggregate, our long run Phillips curve. Okay. All right, and over here, this is going to be our full employment line, or go ahead and label it just like that. Okay. Well, I'll do that just like I did over here. We'll go ahead and label it the full employment. Remember, over here you have unemployment, and over here you have price level. All right. Now, if you'll notice, we're going to label this over here point A. Notice point A is not on the long run aggregate supply line. So some would say that's inefficient, and yes, it is inefficient. We need to be along that to be at full employment. But we really didn't mind it so much because we were employing more people than we even had in the labor force. In other words, we were adequately employing more people than even what we had. How does that happen? Well, you could say that we had people from other countries working here. We had people that normally don't work that were working. They were doing whatever they could to make us productive. So we were going to be, when it comes to unemployment, we were going to be on this side of unemployment. So when you look at it, we were here. Our price level 1 was here, and of course our unemployment 1 was here. Okay, and we'll go ahead and label that as point A. Okay. Notice that they're almost in different directions. Okay, A is to the left of this, and of course A over here is to the right. That's because if you were to look at these two particular graphs, they mirror each other altogether. Now, something happened, and that was the coronavirus. And what we saw on the aggregate model, what we began to see is that the aggregate demand began to shift to the point where we actually shifted into a recession. And we are definitely in a recession because we are below full employment. Okay, so all of a sudden we get to PL2, which is where we are now. Okay, and you can see that we are below full employment here at point B. Okay, just remember that if all we do is shift aggregate demand, okay, aggregate demand equals movement along short run Phillips curve. Okay, so if I shifted to the left, aggregate demand shifted to the left over here, then I would have movement to the right. Notice I didn't go back to the long run aggregate supply, I went further. So point B is going to be right here, and I'll check that for you in just a minute. You have price level 2, and here's your new unemployment. 2 sitting right there. The key thing you want to look at now is what happened to each. Prices dropped here, okay? Price level dropped here. And we also saw that unemployment or employment productivity shifted to the left over here. We also saw that unemployment went up here. Okay, so unemployment goes up here at Y2, and unemployment goes up here at unemployment 2. We are in a recession at point B. We are in a recession at point B. Okay, so if aggregate demand moves, then we move along the curve in an opposite direction. Here we shifted to the right, to the left. Over here, then we moved along the curve to point B. We have to move along the curve to the same, basically the same distance between the long run and the actual point and point B right there. So we're left with the recession. All right. If aggregate supply moves, then the short run Phillips curve will shift opposite. And this is one of the things I was talking about, and one of my worries is that if in fact this short run Phillips curve actually shifts to the left, let's just go ahead and do that. So all of a sudden the short run Phillips curve shifts to the left. And let's say that's just because we just don't have enough resources. We don't have enough human resources. Maybe we can't employ them, we can't produce enough. All of a sudden supply of our products are going down. Well, then we're going to be here at point C at this point, and notice that our our price level will go back up. Okay, we'll go ahead and raise that price level back up to where PL1 was, but also notice that we are also in a deeper recession. So now we have increasing price level, and we have also increasing unemployment. Over here, what you would see here is a short run Phillips curve would actually shift. If this one here, if the aggregate supply shifted to the left, then the short run Phillips curve would shift to the right. Okay, and in this particular case, you would see it would shift back to the right, and notice that prices would go up. Okay, prices would go up to PL1, but we would also see an increase in unemployment. So we'll label that point C here. We could just do that right there for you. Okay, and because short run Phillips curve shifted to the right, now point C is way out here. Therefore, you see that we have increased unemployment here. We've increased unemployment, which would be to now UE3, and then of course price level also went up over here, and this would be called stagflation. Okay, that's really it. Just know that if aggregate demand moves, okay, shifts to the right or left, then we'll stay along the short run Phillips curve, and we'll move in the opposite direction along that. So we'll just dance along the short run Phillips curve, okay, from A to B. If there was a C there, you know, if there's aggregate demand movement, we will just move along this curve, okay. If short run Phillips curve actually shifts, we will actually shift in the opposite direction to actually show what has happened. In this particular case, this would be called an actual supply shock. And supply shocks, they will cause stagflation. That's pretty well it. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you need some more help, please let me know. Increased unemployment.